Surprise on the mix.
We look for the news we dey around. Log into Liberty TV online. Positively we bring the change. They get the masses involved. Staffs them everywhere, everywhere. We climb the mountain just to get the news. We go down the slums to get the views. Hey, hey, hey. Voices down. Hey, hey, hey. Credibility, now we ability, now we ability. News, give the views, the tell where you want them. Government issues, democracy, now we not the answer. We human them, girl picking, that's a get the power. He count on me, he count on me anyhow. Give the news, give the views, the tell where you want them. Government issues, democracy, now we not the answer. Human them, girl picking, that's a get the power. He call on me, count on me anyhow. Liberty we ride, like a nigga we fly. Liberty TV day before. We climb the mountain just to get the news. Go down the slums to get the views. Hey yeah, voices down. Hey yeah. The news, give the views, the tell where you want them. Government issues, democracy, now we not the answer. We human them, girl picking, that's a get the power. He count on me, he count on me anyhow. Give the news, give the views, the tell where you want them. Government issues, democracy, now we not the answer. We human them, girl picking, that's a get the power. He call on me, come to me anyhow. We speak free and fearless, inclusive journalism. Speak free and fearless, inclusive journalism.
Surprise on the mix.
We look for the news we dey around. Log into Liberty TV online. Positively we bring the change. They get the masses involved. Staffs them everywhere, everywhere. We climb the mountain just to get the news. We go down the slums to get the views. Hey, hey, hey. Voices down. Hey, hey, hey. Credibility, now we ability. News, give the views, the tell where you want them. Government issues, democracy, now we not the answer. We human them, girl picking, that's a get the power. He count on me, he count on me anyhow. Give the news, give the views, the tell where you want them. Government issues, democracy, now we not the answer. Human them, girl picking, that's a get the power. He call on me, count on me anyhow. Liberty we ride, like a nigga we fly. Liberty TV day before. We climb the mountain just to get the news. Go down the slums to get the views. Hey yeah, voices down. Hey yeah. The news, give the views, the tell where you want them. Government issues, democracy, now we not the answer. We human them, girl picking, that's a get the power. He count on me,
You are watching Liberty Online TV. This is Liberty Online TV powered by Orange Sierra Leone.
Supplies on the mix.
We dey look for the news we dey around. Log into Liberty TV online. Positively we bring the change. They get the masses involved. Staffs them everywhere, everywhere. We climb the mountain just to get the news. We go down the slums to get the views. Voices down. Credibility, now we ability. News, give the views, the tell where you want them. Government issues, democracy, now we not the answer. We human them, God picking, that's a get the power. He count on me, he count on me anyhow. Give the news, give the views, the tell where you want them. Government issues, democracy, now we not the answer. Human them, God begin the second power. You call on me, count on me anyhow. Liberty we ride, like an eagle we fly. Liberty TV day before. Climb the mountain just to get the news. Go down the slums to get the views. Voices down. The news, give the views, the tell where you want them. Government issues, democracy, now we not the answer. We human them, God picking, let's get the power. He count on me, he count on me anyhow. Give the news, give the views, the tell where you want them. Government issues, democracy, now we not the answer. We human them, God begin, let's get the power. We call on me, count to me anyhow. Speak free and fearless, inclusive journalism. Speak free and fearless, inclusive journalism.
A nation forged in resilience from the ashes of the 11 years brutal civil war through the shadows of Ebola, COVID-19 and the mudslide. Sierra Leone rises, but the journey is far from over. Governance strain. Youth demand more. Women demand more. 60% in poverty. But what if the solutions lie not in silence, but in dialogue? This is not another talk show. This is State of the Nation, where every voice feels change. From Freetown to Kono, we are turning debate into action. No script, no spin, just Sierra Leoneans rewriting their future together. So we bring you a movement not just to speak, but to be heard. Speak out. Hold power to account. This is your nation. This is your voice. This is State of the Nation. Only on Liberty TV on Facebook, YouTube, and on www.libertytvonline.com. Every month, the last Sunday, 7 to 9 p.m. Tune in. The nation is watching.
This is Liberty Online TV powered by Orange Sierra Leone.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome to another edition of the Breakfast Show, where they come to you live from Liberty Online TV, with a stream on Facebook, YouTube, and also on our website, where they powered by Orange Sierra Leone. We want to apologize because we start the program a little bit late, and we where they bring this edition of the Breakfast Show come to you this Tuesday morning. Mina Khadija Bangura.
And Mina Mabel Kaba, good morning. Today is Tuesday, the 10th day of June, 2025. And inside this edition of the Breakfast Show, we will continue with the conversation we get for do with the partial ban where the United States of America and President Donald Trump been put pan salon and other countries them. Today in this edition, we go hear from the ambassador for the U.S. Embassy in a salon, where they can tell we waiting there behind this decision, how salon go able for come out on the list, waiting need for be done, and serve the visa them where this particular partial ban no affect. You go know all of this inside this edition of the Breakfast Show.
Well, for can give we more insight into this decision where the U.S. President Donald Trump been take, and this decision take effect yesterday when June 9. Now that's make we get the U.S. ambassador to Salon, when Ambassador Bryan Hunt, where they between at the studio this morning. Good morning, Mr. Ambassador.
Good morning, and it's a pleasure to be here again on the Breakfast Show.
It's a pleasure as well. Good to have you here again.
Thank you.
All right. Yesterday we started this conversation. We had the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Musa Timothy Kaba, who stated government position on the partial visa ban on Sierra Leonean citizens. One would be wondering, how did we get here as a country?
Well, the story is relatively simple, and it's one we discussed, I think, the last time that I was here. Sierra Leone, unfortunately, has the 13th highest overstay rate for business and tourist visas in the world, and the 8th highest overstay rate for student visas in the world. So the president, when he was putting together the list of countries that had significantly high overstay rates, unfortunately was not able to overlook the fact that Sierra Leoneans have a history of misusing their visas when they come to the United States, and therefore felt that it was necessary to place a partial ban on travel while we re-examine what is necessary to ensure that Sierra Leonean travelers adhere to U.S. immigration law, and to make sure that we have in place the necessary checks and procedures to protect our country and our borders.
So before the coming of the partial ban, were there any warning to the officials of Sierra Leone to ensure that those that have overstayed, be it students or other individuals that have overstayed in the U.S. to come back home? Were there warnings to the government?
Well, we've been talking about this both with the government and publicly since President Trump came into office. We discussed it when I was here previously on the Breakfast Show. I've discussed it on many other news outlets. I've certainly had multiple conversations with the government about the need to address this problem. The specifics of the ban were ones that were debated within the White House. They took into account a number of considerations in putting it together, but the overwhelming volume of evidence that we had on overstay rates made it necessary to go down this path. It's not something that is going to hopefully be permanent. We hope that this is a temporary pause in visa issuances. It's initially for a 90-day period, after which the president has asked us to review again what changes have been made to make sure that our borders are secure. And our hope is that in working with the government of Sierra Leone, we'll be able to address the problem within that period and hopefully return to normal visa issuances at the embassy.
You said Sierra Leonean citizens who have been visiting the United States have a history of misusing their visas. What do you consider as a visa misuse?
Well, anyone who chooses to stay beyond the duration of time for which they were admitted by the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Service has misused their visa. Anyone who uses the visa for a purpose other than that which the visa was issued misuses the visa. For example, if you are given a visa to go on holiday and instead go and take a job in the United States, that would be a misuse of your visa. So those are the categories that we're really talking about. And of course, anyone who commits a crime in the United States, by definition, misuses their visa. Fortunately, that's a very, very small number of Sierra Leoneans who travel to the United States who choose to do that. But it is a factor in the consideration.
But in terms of documentation, because I believe you have a list of everyone that enters the United States through your immigration, because there are checks whenever you are traveling. Do you have documents to prove that the Sierra Leoneans who have overstayed, there is a list of them that you can at least submit as an embassy to Sierra Leone so that the government knows what to do at this time?
Yeah, we track the admissions and we track the departures of everyone who goes into and out of the United States. So our Department of Homeland Security knows whether someone has remained in the United States beyond the period for which they were admitted. Very difficult to track those individuals once they're in the United States. We don't track movement of anyone, frankly, in the United States unless they're under criminal investigation and surveillance. So we don't know where many of those individuals are within our borders. Certainly since President Trump took office, we have made a concerted effort to locate individuals who have overstayed, to have them return either voluntarily or be deported to their home countries. That is an ongoing process, and it is one part of the problem. But that is extremely costly whenever we have to deport someone. So the president believes it very important that we deal with the front end of the problem and make sure that we're only admitting people who are going to use their visas appropriately and depart at the end of their authorized stay in the United States.
Before the partial visa ban came into effect yesterday, there was a list that came out from the State Department of countries that are having their citizens living in the U.S. illegally, and the U.S. government was planning to send them back home. Some countries were refusing to accept these citizens according to the U.S. State Department, and Sierra Leone was among those countries. What are the ongoing conversations between the Sierra Leonean government and that of the U.S. government to accept back these illegal citizens of Sierra Leone living in the U.S.?
So for Sierra Leone, this is a historical problem. It's not a current problem. We did have problems in the previous administration with Sierra Leone not issuing documents in a timely fashion to allow their citizens to return home when they were being deported. The current government has addressed those problems. And we have not had, in the last several months since President Trump took office, issues in obtaining the travel documents from the current government. It's a conversation we continue to have with them because of the historical problems. But as of right now, Sierra Leone is in compliance with issuing travel documents within the 30-day prescribed time period.
I asked this question because yesterday when we interviewed the Minister of Foreign Affairs, he said under his tenure as a Minister of Foreign Affairs, he's been complying with some of these conversation or correspondence coming from the U.S. Embassy. How true is that?
Yes, no, that's very true. Every time I've engaged Foreign Minister Kaba and asked for his assistance in ensuring that travel documents were issued in a timely fashion, he has delivered on that. And as I said, since January of this year, we've not had issues with Sierra Leoneans not receiving travel documents in a timely fashion.
Since the announcement of the partial ban, a lot of question has been coming from the public as to the categories that are affected, because a lot of people already have their visas, some have are awaiting interviews, and they got it mixed up as to the categories that are directly affected by this partial ban. So just take us through the categories affected.
So if you had a visa that was issued prior to June 9th, you are still free to use that visa to travel to the United States. So all existing holders of U.S. visas are free to travel to the United States as they were previously. The ban applies only to those who are applying for new visas, and it applies only to those who are applying either for student visas, exchange visitor visas, business visas, tourist visas, or certain categories of immigrant visas. On the immigrant visa side, categories IR 1 to 5, which are essentially immediate relatives of U.S. citizens, spouses, children, and parents, are still eligible to receive those visas.
Aside these categories of visas you just mentioned, are there exemptions for government officials who might want to travel to the United States for official purposes?
So government officials and diplomats receive a different category of visa. Those visas are still available. They are still able to travel. The same is true, for example, for working journalists who are traveling to the United States. They receive a different category of visa. They are still able to travel. There are a number of other types of visas that are out there for temporary workers, for artists, for those with unique skills. All of those categories of visa are still available to Sierra Leoneans.
I know there are ongoing conversation between you and the government officials, maybe officials from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to see how you can probably guide them through the next steps for Sierra Leone to become eligible, maybe under the 90 days review process, to see how you can help them get out of this situation now. What are the ongoing conversations you're having with government officials from the Foreign Ministry?
Yeah, so I don't want to get into specific diplomatic conversations because those are meant to be had behind closed doors. But we are having an ongoing dialogue, and that dialogue centers around those steps that both sides believe we can take to ensure the integrity of the visa process, make sure that documents are secure, make sure that criminal records of Sierra Leoneans are available, make sure that birth certificates, other civil registry documents are available and searchable, and we'll continue that dialogue. And we do expect it to be a dialogue. I don't have a list of you must do's for the government. I don't anticipate getting a specific list of you musts.
But must do's.
So I don't think there's going to be a list that I'm going to give them on that. We want this to be a dialogue. We want to hear from them what their ideas are as to how they can better secure Sierra Leonean documents and better make available the criminal records and other things that we need to make sensible visa decisions and to secure our borders. We may put some ideas on the table. I'm still waiting for guidance from Washington as to what those might be. But we want this to be a two-way dialogue with your government to make sure that both sides are comfortable with the steps that are being taken.
So based on the conversations you've been having with the, be it the Minister of Foreign Affairs or any other person in government, is it possible within these 90 days for Sierra Leone to be out of the list of partially banned countries? Is it possible?
It's certainly possible. The president would not have set the 90-day review period if he did not believe that there were immediate steps that countries could take to move off of the ban and back to normal operations. Certainly, President Trump recognizes the importance of travel to the U.S. economy. He recognizes the importance to the broader relationship with Sierra Leone and with all of the other countries that are included on the full or the partial ban list. So he hopes very much that we'll be able to remove some, if not all of those countries from that list, assuming we're able to get to a point where we can say, yes, we have full confidence in the documents we're receiving from these countries. We have full confidence that we know who in these countries has engaged in criminal activities or is engaged in activities contrary to the interests of the United States.
On a scale of 100, Ambassador Hunt, what are the chances for Sierra Leone to get out of this ban within the 90 days period?
Oh, I wouldn't even begin to predict that. There's too many variables to give you a number. I think what I can say is that the possibility is there. The door is open. Certainly the hope and intention from the U.S. side is to be as supportive as we can as Sierra Leone tries to deal with this situation and meet the necessary criteria so that we can have a visa process that makes sense and one that ensures the safety of our country.
Since this announcement came out from the White House website, there's been lots of confusion, especially with people that won the DV lottery program. A lot of them are wondering if they are still eligible to enter the United States.
So if they have been issued a visa, they are eligible to enter the United States. If their visa is still in process, or if they have not completed the visa process, then they are going to have to wait until the ban is lifted before a visa can be issued.
So those category of people who have already paid perhaps the processing fee, but we are just waiting for their interviews, are they also affected? Are they going to wait for the 90 days? And what happens after the 90 days? Is this a fresh process?
Sure. So we are continuing to do visa interviews for anyone who wishes to continue with the visa process, but we're not going to be able to issue a visa to them in those categories, even if they were otherwise qualified. That visa would have to be refused under the presidential proclamation. So for those who have already applied and paid their visa fees, it's important to remember that they can always reschedule their interview. They do not have to adhere to their initial interview date. They can ask to have that rescheduled to a time in the future, perhaps after the ban has been lifted. And visa fees are good for a year after you pay them. So for those who have pending applications or pending interviews, they may wish to consider rescheduling that until after the ban has been lifted. The same thing applies on the immigrant visa side. You can always ask to reschedule your interview if you are in one of those categories for which an immigrant visa would have to be denied at the moment. You may want to consider doing that and asking to have your immigrant visa interview rescheduled for a time after we have already gotten out of this period of the ban.
How about the backlog cases prior to this ban for people that applied for the B1, B2 visas?
Well, so again, if you don't have a B1, B2 visa, we cannot issue one right now. So if you choose to go forward with your interview, the likelihood is that the visa would have to be denied if you're asking for a B1, B2 visa.
You meet all the criteria.
Even if you meet all of the other criteria, the president has determined that no visa can be issued. So we would have to refuse anyone who applies for a B1, B2 visa at this time under 212F if they appear for their interview. So if you have an interview scheduled, it may be in your best interest to ask to have that rescheduled to a later date. And as I said, the visa fee that you've paid is good for up to a year from when you paid it.
Ambassador, does the partial ban in any way affect those that have already participated in the lottery, for example, and other exchange programs between Sierra Leone and the United States?
So if you have a valid visa, you are still free to travel on it, whether your visa is for the diversity visa lottery program, or your visa is a student visa, or your visa is a tourist visa, or an exchange visitor visa. You may still use that visa to travel to the United States. If you do not have a visa, we cannot issue one for at least the next 90 days. So if you have applied, whether that is through the diversity visa lottery, whether that is through an online NIV application, however you've applied for one of the visas in those categories that are not allowed to be issued, tourist, student, exchange visitor, business, and many categories of immigrant visa, including the diversity visa, we're not going to be able to issue those for at least the next 90 days. And if you appear for an interview, the visa would have to be denied under the presidential proclamation.
How about students who are supposed to resume schools in the United States maybe in September this year?
So most students who are already enrolled in a university will have a student visa that is still valid. They may still use that student visa to travel back and forth. New applicants, we are not going to be able to issue student visas for the next 90 days. So if you have been accepted to a U.S. university that is going to be starting this fall and you do not yet have a student visa, now is the time to talk to your university about other options. Many U.S. universities will delay your admission, allow you to begin in the spring or allow you to begin next fall. But at this time, we're not going to be able to issue you a student visa.
For purpose of clarity, we have you here now as the United States ambassador to Sierra Leone. Are there underlying issues that led Sierra Leone to this situation aside what is on the website, the issues of overstaying at the United States? Are there any
No,
underlying
this is based
issues?
entirely upon the overstay rates. This was a decision that was taken by a group within the White House that looked specifically at overstay rates for countries. That was the driving criteria for Sierra Leone. For some other countries that have a significant terrorist or violent extremist organization presence, that was also taken into account, but you are very fortunate, we are all very fortunate that Sierra Leone does not fall into that category. The decision to place Sierra Leone on the partial travel restriction list was entirely related to the overstay rates for student and tourist and exchange visitor visas.
And that has sparked a lot of questions as to what's the fear of the United States for Sierra Leone, for example, citizens overstaying in the U.S.? Are there any security threats related to this? What's the fear of the United States?
Well, our fear is that Sierra Leoneans overstay. That in and of itself is a problem for the United States. We do not want individuals in the United States who are misusing their visas, who are staying contrary to our immigration laws. Having individuals in the United States who are there illegally is a problem for us in and of itself. Now, there are also related issues. There are individuals who stay in the United States and then commit crimes, and unfortunately we have had some Sierra Leoneans fall into that category. Certainly from some other states, we have had horrific incidents in the United States where individuals who are there illegally have engaged in terrorism or have engaged in hate crimes. So that is a problem. When someone is in the United States illegally, we do not have a full record of what they are there to do. They have already committed a crime simply by overstaying. They've committed a civil violation of our law. So our trust in what that individual is there to do goes down substantially because they've essentially lied now to two U.S. officials, the visa officer at the time of interview and the Customs and Border Protection officer when they arrived in the United States. So our confidence level is very, very low whenever we have someone who has chosen to overstay a visa.
Prior to this partial ban, there are other nationals flying into Sierra Leone for their visa interviewing process, acquiring their visa here in Sierra Leone. So if you're a foreign national, you want to come to Sierra Leone for your visa interview, will you be eligible to acquire a visa through the Sierra Leone embassy here?
So we are continuing normal visa operations. So if you are an otherwise eligible applicant, you are free to apply. Of course, there are other countries that are on the full and partial ban. We will not be able to process visas for those nationals either.
That do not belong to the countries that are currently under the ban.
If you are a national of, say, Ghana, and you are legally present in Sierra Leone, according to Sierra Leonean law, and you wish to apply for a non-immigrant visa, we can process and issue that visa.
So what happens in a situation wherein after the 90 days, the number of Sierra Leoneans that have overstayed, be it students or other individuals, the number does not reduce in any way? What happens next?
So the president has instructed that we will, after the initial 90-day review the data and review the steps that the host government has taken every 180 days. So there will be a review initially at 90 days and then at 270 days and then at 450 days, so every 180 days thereafter. And what we are looking at is the steps that the Sierra Leonean government has taken to help us secure the visa process and whether that gives President Trump the confidence necessary to allow our visa issuance to resume.
So are they required to come back home? The ones that have overstayed?
No. Those who are already those who have overstayed, absolutely. Anyone who has overstayed right now needs to leave the United States. And it is my strong recommendation that if you have overstayed your visa, you need to leave voluntarily immediately, because we are cracking down on illegal migration.
So what are the consequences if they don't come back?
So if you overstay in the United States, you are subject to detention and deportation by our Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. You will have seen a large number in the news of foreign nationals who are being detained and deported back to their home countries. And that is what will happen to anyone who has remained illegally in the United States.
Now you are asking for voluntary exit from the United States if you have overstayed and your visa has expired. From the government of Sierra Leone's angle, what should they do to support these citizens that have overstayed their visit in the United States so they can leave voluntarily?
Yeah. So I think the most important thing for the government of Sierra Leone to do is to continue to issue the travel documents necessary for those individuals to return. Many of them do not have valid passports anymore. Many of them require either passports or travel letters. So continuing to issue those documents upon request from Sierra Leonean nationals or from the U.S. government is absolutely essential so that those folks can return home.
Is this the first time Sierra Leone is going through this kind of situation with visas restriction?
So during the first Trump administration, and again, I was not here at the time, I understand that they did impose some limited visa restrictions based upon the fact that travel documents were not being issued in a timely fashion. Those restrictions, I don't believe, were as wide-ranging as the current round.
So this is the first extensive one that Sierra Leone is going
through.
To
the best of my knowledge, this is the most extensive that Sierra Leone has experienced.
As a foreign diplomat, what does this mean for a country like Sierra Leone?
Well, so my hope is that this will simply be a 90-day pause and that this will not have significant implications to the Sierra Leonean economy or to Sierra Leoneans' ability ultimately to continue to travel to the United States. That's certainly what I am working towards as the U.S. representative here. I know it's what your government is working towards. Certainly, if this is an extended ban, then we would be into different territory, and there could be broader challenges to the Sierra Leonean economy, to Sierra Leoneans' ability to visit family, those sorts of things. But my hope is that we can address this issue quickly and prevent it from becoming having a broader impact. I will say that even while this partial ban is in place, we are continuing to engage. We're continuing to engage with Sierra Leone as a partner. We continue to see tremendous commercial opportunities in this country. We continue to play our role as a development partner here through our foreign assistance programs. We remain committed to working with the government in its efforts to develop Sierra Leone's critical mineral resources, to address its energy challenges, to move forward with mutually beneficial trade and investment. So we're very much trying to keep this issue from becoming a major problem within the bilateral relationship.
Ambassador, does this partial ban in any way affect the long-standing bilateral relation between Sierra Leone and the United States?
In my view, it does not. This is a singular issue, and it should be treated as a singular issue, and it's based upon a singular problem, and I think both sides are committed to addressing that problem. And both sides want to resolve this issue as quickly as possible. So I don't think this can or should color the broader range of engagement that the United States and Sierra Leone have across our development partnership, across our commercial partnerships, our cooperation in international fora, all of which is based upon mutually shared interests.
What are the implications if eventually the 90 days period elapses and Sierra Leone does not meet the criteria for them to be removed from this ban?
Well, I think if they don't meet the criteria in 90 days, we work to make sure that during the next 180 days, we accelerate our efforts so that at the end of 180 days, at the end of the next 180 days, we're able to get Sierra Leone off of the list. This is a process. It is not one that we can absolutely guarantee can be completed in 90 days. I remain very optimistic that we can, but I think it's going to require hard work on the part of the Sierra Leonean government and on the part of the Sierra Leonean public. Look, if people want to positively influence the outcome of this so that we can get back to normal visa operations, the most important thing that they can do is, if they have a visa, make sure that they're traveling and using it in the way it was intended. If they have friends and family members who are traveling to the United States, encourage them to use their visas appropriately and to return at the end of the permitted stay in the United States. If they have friends and family members who they know have overstayed, encourage them to come home to Sierra Leone. Encourage them not to remain illegally in the United States. So this really is not just a government effort. This has to be a whole of society effort. There is civic responsibility that's part of this.
Is there any survey or any data that will show some of the reasons for overstaying, Sierra Leonean overstaying their visas?
So we don't do exit interviews when we are deporting individuals from the United States. So we don't collect that sort of data. What I can say in general terms from studies that have been done on migrant populations in the United States, the most common reason that people remain in the United States beyond the period of their admitted stay is in order to work illegally in the United States. It's for economic benefit. That's the most common reason that migrant communities in general remain.
So those that have overstayed already, you made mention earlier that they can voluntarily come back home. If they come back, do they stand chances of reapplying in future and get a visa to go back?
So there are restrictions. They have to be outside the United States for certain periods of time before they're eligible for another visa. And of course, if you have overstayed and misused your visa once, you would have to make a very compelling case as to why you will not do so in the future. But there are possibilities, and there are individuals who have overstayed once and then received a U.S. visa in the future when their circumstances have significantly changed in their home country.
How about people who already have a B1 or B2 visa? They might get pregnant and go to the United States and give birth to the babies.
So what we call birth tourism, what you're talking about, is not something that is permitted under U.S. regulation. So certainly things happen, particularly if you're in the United States for a long period of time, like a student. If you're there for 4 years, things happen, students do give birth, that's okay. But if the primary purpose of your travel to the United States is to give birth to a child so that that child acquires U.S. citizenship, that is not an appropriate use of your B1, B2 visa. If we learn at the time of interview that that is the purpose of your travel to the United States, we will deny the visa and not allow you to go there for that purpose.
All right, Ambassador Hunt, I know you're leaving us at 9, but before you leave, let's just bring some of the questions that needs clarification from our viewers. The first one that I'm reading is from Francis Rogers. He's saying, are there any special consideration for individuals who have maintained good standing on their current visa and are seeking to renew it, given that their compliance history is on the record?
Yeah, unfortunately, we're not allowed to do renewals at this time either. So for those who have valid visas, you can travel, but we're not going to be able to renew if your visa has expired.
All right, to look at some more messages, the YouTube channel. Jal Songo is saying, thank goodness, Mr. Ambassador, to clarify all these speculations on the media. On the contrary, lessons learned, please do not overstay your designated visa. If this trend continues, the ban will continue.
This one is saying, good morning. Kindly find out from the ambassador, how is he helping us out? We are from other foreign national. We use the embassy for DV 2025.
So for other foreign nationals, if you are not on the, if your nationality is not on the list that is either partially banned or fully banned, the embassy visa services remain open. We can process your case. We are happy to process your case so long as you are legally present in Sierra Leone under Sierra Leonean law. We cannot do visa interviews for those who are illegally present in Sierra Leone.
All right, this one is saying Zimbabwe was initially included in a New York Times published list of restricted countries or partial visa ban. However, in the final proclamation, Zimbabwe was no longer in the list. What specific criteria did Zimbabwe meet from that time up to the proclamation that Sierra Leone did not?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, it's important to understand the New York Times article was not an accurate reflection of what was under discussion in the United States government.
Okay.
So just because a country was on the New York Times or the Reuters list, and they were two different lists and they had two different sets of countries on them, that was not reflective of U.S. deliberation. What I can say about Zimbabwe, since folks are apparently interested, Zimbabwe's visa overstay rate in comparison to Sierra Leone's, for B1, B2, their overstay rate was only 10%. Sierra Leone's was 15%. For students, Zimbabwe's overstay rate was only 18%, about half of Sierra Leone's. So that would be the driving reason why Sierra Leone would end up on the list and Zimbabwe would not.
Henrietta is asking, please clarify the overstay. Do you mean the time given on the 194 or the length of your visa?
No, the length of your visa has nothing to do with how long you may stay in the United States. When you enter the United States, you are given an I-94 form or a stamp in your passport by the admitting officer at Customs and Border Protection. On that form, it will say how long you are allowed to remain in the United States for that trip. So for most people, that is either 90 days or 6 months. For students, it will often say duration of status, which means you are allowed to stay as long as you are enrolled in a student, an academic program that is registered under SEVIS. Visa validity is not how long you can stay in the United States. It is how long you may use that visa to apply for multiple trips to the United States. So if we give you a 5-year visa, that means over the course of 5 years, you may apply multiple times to enter the United States. But each time you enter, Customs and Border Protection will give you an I-94 or a stamp that says specifically how long you may stay for that particular trip.
And Vincent Momo is asking if there is any grace period to stay in the U.S. for someone with a F1 student visa that has expired.
So, again, visa expiration is not the determining factor as to how long you can remain in the United States. If you are a student, you were likely admitted for duration of status when you arrived in the United States. That's normally what your I-94 will say. That means that so long as you remain a student enrolled in a program under SEVIS, you may remain in the United States. Now, should you complete those studies, you are no longer in status and you are expected to leave within a certain period of time. If you choose to leave before you are done being a student, then your visa would need to be renewed before you could return to the United States. And for right now, for Sierra Leoneans, that's not a possibility.
This one is saying in the travel ban announcement, President Trump's statement cited of classified information as additional justification for restricting or partially ban these visas, including Sierra Leone, given that the visa ban is primarily based on visa overstay concerns and refusal to accept deported nationals. How does this classified information affect the DV visas ban?
So, I don't know what classified information the individual is referring to. I believe what the president said was he did not want to go into every specific around every particular country. But for Sierra Leone, the data upon which it is based is public. It's available on the DHS website, and that is the overstay rates.
And this one is also saying, is the required documents and guidelines for IR2 and IR5 visa categories going to be changed? If so, what are the new documents for these categories?
No, there's no discussion of changing documentary requirements for immigrant visas. The IR2 and IR5 categories require one to establish to the satisfaction of the consular officer the relationship between the U.S. citizen petitioner and their relative in Sierra Leone. That can be done in a number of different ways, including sometimes DNA testing when it is deemed necessary. But the requirements for establishing that relationship remain the same. President Trump did make very clear that he is insisting that we have clear and convincing evidence of that relationship. That has always been the standard, and it is the standard we will continue to apply at our embassy here in Sierra Leone.
This one is saying Liberians do overstay more than us, but they are not banned. Are you sure it's not the trend of affairs that is determining the factor of the ban?
No, Liberians don't actually overstay more than Sierra Leoneans. I hate to correct the individual. Liberia's overstay rate for student visas in particular is lower than Sierra Leone's by several orders of magnitude, and it was both categories that were considered in determining whether or not to include a country on the list.
Yesterday, when we interviewed the foreign minister, he made mention of certain airlines that are not selling tickets to potential travelers to the United States at the moment, even though they have valid visas. Do you have any plans or intention of maybe sending out a memo to these airlines and make certain clarification on who is supposed to be in the United States on existing visas?
So that is done by the Department of Homeland Security, Customs and Border Protection. They did send out what's called a carrier notice last night to all all airlines that are registered with the Department of Homeland Security, that clearly lays out the criteria under which folks are allowed to travel to the United States pursuant to the ban. So any misunderstanding on the part of the airline should now be clarified. Airlines should be allowing Sierra Leoneans who have valid visas to board and travel to the United States. But of course, carriers always have the right to make their own determinations about which passengers they want to travel. That is their right as private companies. But we have sent out the necessary clarifications and guidelines from our Customs and Border Protection Service.
Someone is saying, considering the historical partnership between the U.S. and Sierra Leone, what specific benchmarks or policy shifts would be required from Sierra Leone's side to facilitate a full reinstatement of the visa privileges?
Yeah, so I think the core answer to that is that we need to see the overstay rates drop, and we need to continue to work with the government to ensure the security of documents, including civil registry documents, and the availability of criminal records.
Is 90 days enough to see that overstaying date drop?
I believe it will be. Certainly we track overstay data on a continuous basis. So
from lessons learned previously from perhaps other countries that were under similar ban, what did they do to get themselves out of the list?
So we've not had an identical ban to this one previously. Previous bans that were in place during the first Trump administration had more to do with countries not being able to ensure their nationals were not engaged in activities that threatened the United States, primarily international terrorism. So the criteria here are different. This is a first attempt to address the overstay rate problem, which has been a persistent one. And we will be working very closely with the government to try to identify those areas that would have meaningful impact on that and lay out a course that would allow us to be able to once again begin issuance of visas.
This one is saying, please, will they schedule interviews for DV winners from other countries apart from Sierra Leone?
Well, we do schedule DV interviews from countries apart from Sierra Leone for those individuals who are winners of the DV lottery and are legally present here in Sierra Leone. That is an ongoing thing.
Considering the historical partnership between the U.S. and Sierra Leone, what specific benchmarks or policy shifts will be required from Sierra Leone's side to facilitate a full reinstatement of visa privileges?
Again, this is a dialogue between us and the Sierra Leonean government. There isn't a list that I can give you of precisely what's going to need to happen, but I think it comes back to those core issues that I've talked about before: the overstay rate, the security of civil registry documents, and the availability of criminal records.
So are they fully complying from the Sierra Leonean side, maybe from the embassy in Washington, D.C.? Are they providing these documents for Sierra Leoneans who are staying in the U.S. illegally at the moment?
So at the moment they are, and it is essential that continue. But since January of this year, we have not had issues with documents being released later than the 30-day deadline.
So from January this year to now, Sierra Leone's government have received their citizens?
Absolutely.
Should there be any reason for authorities to be worried about existing supports from the U.S., especially under the Trump administration? Because there has been a lot of talks around the MCC, whether it's still in progress or it has been paused. There has been a lot of conversation.
So there's a lot.
That.
There's been a lot of speculation, including a very inaccurate report in the New York Times about the state of affairs with MCC. What I can say is that at this moment, the MCC compact is signed. It is in force. We, on the United States side, have not given any notification to Sierra Leone that we intend to withdraw from that compact. I just had extensive meetings in Washington discussing the compact and discussing the way forward. So I think that the reporting that took place, sadly, gave an inaccurate impression of where we are in that process. And it is certainly our intent to continue to find ways to support Sierra Leone in meeting its energy challenges, whether that's through MCC, DFC, or other U.S. government programs.
Aside the MCC, the DFC, or other government programs, most people are making this speculation, taking into consideration the pronouncement by President Trump about the U.S. aid to African countries, and Sierra Leone is one of those African countries. Listening to you this morning, should Sierra Leonean citizens continue to be hopeful of the U.S. support in terms of funding or other exchange programs when it comes to the U.S. State Department?
Yeah, very much so. The president and the secretary have been very clear that even though we are transferring responsibility for our development cooperation from the U.S. Agency for International Development to the Department of State, life-saving humanitarian programs will continue. We will continue to be a strong supporter of development in Africa. We are going to do it through the State Department rather than through USAID. We are going to make sure that those programs are consistent with U.S. foreign policy rather than simply charitable donations. But we are absolutely committed to making sure that our life-saving humanitarian programs continue. For Sierra Leone, the impact is going to hopefully be more health dollars actually reaching Sierra Leoneans. What we have done as part of the restructuring is to reduce the number of implementing partners that we are using, so fewer mechanisms to deliver the same assistance, which means lower overhead costs and which means more dollars getting to Sierra Leoneans who need them to work on the prevention of malaria, maternal and child health, and ensuring that we can prevent pandemic disease from impacting the country.
Changing the development partners you've been working with, does that mean you are introducing new development partners to some of these programs?
No, so we're not changing the development partners. We are simply reducing the number that we are using. So we had 20-some partners who were carrying out our programs in those 3 health areas. We are going to be reducing that probably to 8. Those are all existing partners. We are not bringing new partners into the mix at this time. We are simply going to give more money or a larger percentage of the money to those existing 8.
What are the reasons for this change? Do you suspect any loopholes in the implementation processes?
No, the challenge is every time we bring on a new implementing partner, that comes with overhead costs. Salary, office space, utility costs, vehicles. It's very expensive when you have an implementing partner. So it is better to have fewer of those so that less of that money is spent on the implementing partner's overhead and more of it gets to the people who it's intended for.
You just reaffirmed the U.S. commitment to supporting Sierra Leone's energy sector. And one of these supports, the government of Sierra Leone is relying on the MCC grant, and there's been a stall. In the event this grant does not come into existence, are there plans of thinking of another way or strategy to support Sierra Leone's energy sector?
Well, I think it's premature to make any conclusion about whether or not the MCC grant's going to come into fruition. As of right now, as I said, the compact is there and it remains in force, and it is certainly our primary focus to reach a point where we can begin implementation on that compact. We have lots of tools, though, and certainly if something, God forbid, were to happen with the compact, there are other tools out there, including DFC, that we could look at
to support the energy
sector. Yeah.
Before leaving us, Ambassador, from the U.S. Embassy in Sierra Leone to citizens watching you this morning, what would be your parting words regarding this partial ban?
So I think the most important thing to remember is that the visa ban is not the defining moment of U.S.-Sierra Leone foreign policy. U.S.-Sierra Leone bilateral relations are much broader than visas. It encompasses all of the range of commercial activities that we are engaged in, the entirety of our development assistance, the large-scale cooperation that we have on matters of international peace and security at the UN Security Council. So irrespective of the visa ban, the U.S.-Sierra Leone relationship is strong. It's going to continue to move forward. We're going to continue to work in the mutual interests of both Sierra Leone and the United States. On the visa ban specifically, my primary message would be do what you can to make sure that you, your family members, your friends are using their U.S. visas appropriately. That is the most important thing that Sierra Leoneans can do in order to rectify this ban.
Quickly, someone is saying, could the ambassador please clarify what will happen to IR visas? For example, parents who were already approved following the recent ban affecting Sierra Leone. So
IR 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 immigrant visas can be processed. They will be processed as normal. So those who have pending IR 1 to 5 applications will be able to be interviewed and have their visas issued if they meet the qualifications.
All right, many thanks, Bryan Hunt, for joining us this morning and make this clarification on issues that has to do with the partial visa ban on Sierra Leonean citizens at the moment. Hopefully, after the 90 days elapses, we'll have you again for you to give updates on where Sierra Leone is now, if there's been a review or is the country still suffering from the restriction. It was a pleasure having you here this morning, as always.
A pleasure to join you. Thank you very much. I look forward to coming back.
All right. Well, that's going to be the U.S. Ambassador to Salon, Bryan, be they make clarification on the restrictions where they now on Salon. After 90 days, according to the Sierra Leone authority, them and that of the U.S. State Department, go meet again and see if Salon meets the criteria them for let them come out under the ban. One of the criteria that for ensure says Sierra Leone government take back the citizen them without overstaying at the country. Una continue for watch the program. We'll come back when they can talk to Mike Bearer, when at the direction of communication at State House on the press release we come out yesterday from the energy sector say car power ship they stop for Gilite to Freetown 12 o'clock middle net June 12. Waiting at some of the strategy them we government don't put in place for make sure say people in Freetown not suffer past smack blackouts, and that's Mike Bearer they can update we. We'll take this quick break, we'll come back, we'll continue.
So, una wey dey watch me, this na quick message on the mpox sick na Salon where they come out from Liberty Online TV. As of today, the case dem na Salon just dey go up. For make sure so you no get this sick, National Public Health Agency don say we for wash we and all time avoid boku shaken and all, and not go near person wey get the signs dem of mpox. And say, if you sabi anybody will get eye fever or rash and body, make him rush go na hospital one time. This message come to you from Liberty Online TV.
A nation forged in resilience from the ashes of the 11 years brutal civil war through the shadows of Ebola, COVID-19, and the mudslide. Sierra Leone rises, but the journey is far from over. Governance strain. Youth demand more. Women demand more. 60% in poverty. But what if the solutions lie not in silence, but in dialogue? This is not another talk show. This is State of the Nation, where every voice feels change. From Freetown to Kono, we are turning debates into action. No script, no spin, just Sierra Leoneans rewriting their future together. So we bring you a movement not just to speak, but to be heard. Speak out. Hold power to account. This is your nation. This is your voice. This is State of the Nation. Only on Liberty TV on Facebook, YouTube, and on www.libertytvonline.com. Every month, the last Sunday, 7 to 9 p.m. Tune in. The nation is watching.
All right, welcome back. You still watch the Breakfast Show on Liberty Online TV, and we tell you say this part of the program we go can talk to State House Director of Communications, when Mike Brewer, for tell we waiting they happen now. As yesterday, the Ministry of Energy be update the public say as at the 12th of June, where now this coming Friday, 12 o'clock net, Kappa ship go stop for send energy na Freetown. Well, waiting at the possible strategies them within the work on as a government for ensure say Freetown will go back to blackouts. We they join Mike Brewer now on the line. Good morning, Mike, and welcome to the Breakfast Show.
Hey, good morning, Liberty TV Online. I'm glad to be here.
All right, let me just know first, as a nation, how we reach a decision again for the Kappa ship don't talk say on the 12th, when at this coming Friday of June, 12 o'clock net, government already don't pull a statement through the Ministry of Energy. Also, another inform the public say Kappa ship go stop for sending the normal lights where they get, especially to Freetown. How we reach yonder?
Well, first of all, people need to understand, say, this government is a very transparent government. We believe, say, we owe the people every explanation and details we would go through in governance. So this should be something that people appreciate, that we come out and tell people. So the government and Kappa be done in contractual agreement. We all know that. That's not a story to Sierra Leone. We all know, say, Kappa be kind of this country on an emergency. But now not an emergency anymore because we don't use them for years. Over 7 years now they use them. So When they appoint Dr. Kande Yumkela for can lead the energy sector, we all see how Dr. Kande Yumkela outline and plans them. We get short, medium, and long-term plans of energy independence. What do you mean by that? It means say Sierra Leone as a country will not for depend on other people than for give we light. A one law we own we own, a one law we. Now we get we own energy. Something we would depend on somebody no will grab no more and say they can't hot light power because we don't pay. So the energy lead be done, they get in touch with Kapawa. You know, Kapawa wanted an extension, we in a more than a year extension. Then because of them plans, they in place, the energy sector say, we no want to extend them over a year. We just want it 1 year. I think that they the fracture camp. Kapawa besides say, then the hot lights because we need for pay them so money against so them. And me and you now know say, I mean, this is no shame about it. I mean, that is why then they change the leadership within the energy sector. We all know say, EPSA a problem. There have been huge problems with EPSA. What's not the problem? One, for let them generate money for pay power. A lot of factors responsible for that. They get internal factors and external factors. Within the internal factors, within the EPSA architecture, the EPSA management, a lot of things the way they happen, we're not right. That's why EPSA reform can. That's why you see them sack people then. That's why you see them they change the leadership. That's why you see they don't bring meters in the country because we all know now, say the external factors, we all know now, say citizens themselves not they pay light. You know, say a lot of over 15 meters and then at this country where everybody who had a finger meter, who they do this, who they do that. So it also becomes very difficult for EXA also for what? For generate income, for letting money come because people then they with the finger light, how they want for one, they go directly inside them pockets. So all this has to do with reforms. It has to do with technical reforms. It has to do with operational reforms. It has to do with human reforms also. And at that EPSA work on. So we receive a press release from the Kapawa 28 say if they not pay them so money against so term 12 midnight on so Friday, then the light at the city. So that was not a good one. That's not something we were expecting. But like I say, governments are always government. We care about the people. Governments already don't put modalities in place for make sure say we are not in a terrible shape.
Mike, you go agree with me, say, from yesterday where this press release come out from the energy sector, lots of people and they in panic now. They predict, say, darkness they can't cover Freetown. But you now one of the people within at the communication wing for government. How na go assure Sierra Leoneans them, especially people na Freetown, when one of the beneficiary them from the car power ship say Freetown no go there in total darkness as then they speculate.
Freetown will not be in total darkness. I just want to let people understand. We get existing structures there. I don't want to go into the technical operations of that until maybe the engineers and maybe the ministers themselves speak to that, which of course we are working on a communique. We will come out after maybe 2 days from now, before the day we cap power the shutdown. But people for understand, say, we'll get infrastructures in Amakot. We'll get Sierra Energy, where they come on Ivory Coast. We get Kingdom Negeta. We'll get Bumbuna. Right? So people not see I'm like saying a cap power. Now the only source of electricity. Yes, now the major source of electricity because then they send about 55 to 60 megawatts in Freetown. Then during the dries. But during the rains, we still forget existing structures then where they supplement that. And people for also understand, like what starts my presentation to now, I'll tell you now about Honorable Kande Yumkela in short, medium, and long-term plan for this country. Within the long-term plans, boku things and the infrastructures and they talk about infrastructures and we're already existing. When I solar infrastructures and when they connect all over the country. So before the rains they done, I don't want to get into all waiting at the details, waiting at the plans and all that because it's more technical.
But you know, feel say that go allay the fear of cities in them as it is now because even where car power ship be the supply electricity na Freetown, some certain areas don't they get sufficient electricity.
Yes, exactly. And that's why we get all the other existing structures they are able to supplement that. So like I'll tell you, if I also understand, see, this is the rains. Right? When rains they come, we get to your existing structure, we tide come up. I mean, we are in very, 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 very good shape. So ultimately they try to tell people, as pundits, saboteurs, people them own political critics, then they say Freetown is going to be plunged into city darkness. No, that is not the place. That is not the case. We get people that want to able-bodied people them win want this country for go before. And of course, President, let people not forget, say he is the Minister of Energy as I speak to you. So let people not feel say we'll sit down and fold our hands. I will assure the people of Freetown, say Freetown is not going to be plunged into darkness. We have modalities that they have put in place, like I mentioned. So all the infrastructures, their governments have get infrastructure. And my sisters, then, but we understand this. We cannot continue to be an emergency power. Car power is not the solution to this country's energy fix. It's not. It's not the solution. Our country go there, now ship will get in our water with the supply. It's not. Now the emergency power. What they bring up for let them make sure say them fix your own power systems. So if we are going to have a little bit of inconveniences for now we get we own, that is something we will embrace. That is what we call energy sovereignty. That is what we call energy independence. We not force you don't and rely on people that want to foreign people there. When they grab no more today, they say in the hot light. And you see the cost of electricity on people. People that they grumble, there. So there's solutions there, our government is trying to put in place. Then they bring massively the reduction of electricity, all people then will they pay. And now that government they work with. As I talk to us, so Dr. Kande Yumkela know it on right now. It they Guinea. People for also understand, say, when the Prime Minister becomes Senegal, we come, one of the negotiations, them we get to the Vice President. Now for what? Now for give 20 megawatts we for come from what? From Senegal. Right? One of the MOUs the modern sign, now for now we get an energy collaboration with Senegal. So people need to understand, say, there is a lot going on in the background. But I get it. Political pundits then will use them. Then will into people. Then we'll talk like say, oh, Freetown, they can't go into darkness. People will be panic. But that's not the case. And people also understand, say, even car power, then therefore send 6 megawatts at the city. So essential buildings like hospitals, offices, the more essential offices, them we're going to run on a 24-hour basis. So we are not in a terrible state. It is sad that things like this come, but people also understand, say, it's we the citizens themselves not to help the situation, right? One, but people then they will not pay lights bill. Two, extra self not able, they're not getting infrastructure. They're not able to collect the money for pay them people their own time. So now all them things there, if we are going to fix the energy system in this country, then reforms they need for take place. All they go at once. And at this you see they happen. Recently you see how them fire all the heads in the EDSA. Because reforms, new people are coming into. They are going to put smart operations in place. We are in this. The meters that don't come out now. When they fix an IOS, when you touch them, people they know exactly whose side you touch them. People they waiting at the headquarters and EDSA, they know exactly. So all the tamper meter proofs are all policies, are all infrastructures. Then when they come out in place, for let them make sure say people not able to tamper out meter, people not able to finger that EDSA will get the revenue where they need to forget, and then we'll get the right people them waiting in the EDSA place so we get the interest of this country.
You state earlier say the decision for the car power ship say then go stop for the lights on the 12th of June when at this coming Friday. Now because they want an extension where government no wants for do at all. The last time we get conversation of car power ship say then the shutdown been get for do with areas them where Salon governments been owe them. This particular stage, waiting at the debts where Salon owe car power ship and it gets anything for do with this and decision for shutdown?
Yes, we get a lot for do the decision. It is well spelled out in the press release. And even the tweet I put and they say unpaid bills. Right? But you can also understand, say, the government wanted a contract. I mean, not until today we don't owe car power. If you understand that, say, we always the owe there. Okay, we'll pay small, then still they continue. But I'm not going to say that these are the motivation. I don't want to speak for car power. But I want to understand
currently. Almost government or car powership.
Well, I don't want to speak into that because there is a contractual agreement, me not to the finance person. I don't want to speak into that. What I want to speak to is Sierra Leoneans and for the rest assured say, we care. Sierra Leoneans for the rest assured say, we know the severity of that situation. Sierra Leoneans and for rest assured say, government is putting everything in place for our city not be plunged into total darkness.
You just reaffirm your words of assurance so you don't get to Sierra Leone and then this morning. What if Friday midnight come, car power puts them facility there off and Freetown go into darkness?
I just explained to you, say that will not be the wish for me, that not be the wish for you. If you understand, say we have an effective government in place. I also just outlined to you the existing structures that we have in this country. We have Makot, we have 5 megawatts. We have Sierra Energy Ivory Coast, we're about 20. Negotiations are in place for letting increase that. We have Bumbuna, yeah, we have Negata. We have other existing structures when the NEPA put in place. Now I make her tell you, say this is the rains. During the rains, when a dry season, Bumbuna and like then 15 it is sent to this country.
But the same Bumbuna, don't they engineers them from EDSA, don't they raise concerns, say human activities to the forest, the bush them don't affect the water level na Bumbuna.
Exactly. So now I make her tell you, say during the rains, it's still they come up. During the rains, we can get up to 50. About that car power they send to the city. Like I say, I don't want to explain, I don't want to go into the technicalities of that. I'll tell you, say we are working on a communique we will put in a door. As long as all the negotiations then they do behind the scenes right now, if you don't seal all the deals and the negotiations, then we'll come out and tell people. But what I will reaffirm to Sierra Leoneans is the president is the Minister of Energy. He knows the severity of the situation. He cares about this country. He cares about the people of Freetown. Freetown is not going to be plunged in total darkness as the pundits and political critics want you to believe. There are modalities in place where I don't mention. I'm not going to go into the operationals of these modalities here, but there are modalities in place, existing modalities in place for make sure say Freetown not in total darkness. I assure you that.
Quickly, Mike, before you left with, for clarity's sake, the government of Sierra Leone don't finally cut ties with the car power ship, or una still they talk to them for pay the remaining areas and start new conversation?
Well, you know, we say we don't totally cut the car power ship. If you understand, so we still owe them, right? So negotiations will still go on. Things can change. We never know. You don't know. I don't know. Things might change. So negotiations still go on. But for now, we are not looking in that direction. We are looking at the existing structures. The more we get one, we own them. We will say, person will grab today hot lights per week because we'll not pay them. And that's what our focus is as a government for now.
So what happens after the rains? Because we all know, say, during the rains, at times, lights can be. After the rains, if car power ship not still in operation, waiting will get for happen.
I just tell you, say, when they appoint Honorable Kande Kole Yumkela as the energy sector lead with Engineer Nuni, I tell you, say, they outline short, medium, and long-term energy plan for this country. What do I mean by that? The short-term plan be the way from now to now this one for fix. Medium-term plan, this one, this one for long-term plan, and this one. So if you take a look at the long-term plan for we energy situation at this country, we don't want to be on energy life support in this country. I mean, anybody will get it. I mean, you get your mind on your own, you want this country for better. You don't want car power for dinner forever. Anybody, let's be real. Let's put politics aside. Let's put sentiments aside. Let's put the one way they as the energy leader. If you not let come or you let come or you want to let SLPP fail or you not fail. Energy where they come in this country, you know the pickles. You don't want to know if you're not red, you're not blue, you're not green. You don't want to know if whose party they support. All lights come in the can all my hosts. All blackouts sky the can all my hosts. Electing a government official, they buy fuel every day. You they feel that because the money way for keep for do all that thing, but you take and put up by energy. So people for understand, say, we all as a country for embrace each other and think forward, say, car power is not the solution to our energy problems in this country. Now emergency energy, now ship within our water. We will continue for living. A fine law will get to young. And if any governments come and they think forward in that direction, for make sure say, now we'll get with your existing structures. Now we'll get more turbines na bumbuna. Make we get I call them King Tom, Black Hole, them all they operate. Then they go on. Now we'll get more solar grids them across the city. That should be our thinking as Sierra Leoneans. We for support anybody who gets their ambitions then for this country. So car power is not a solution. It's not. It has never been. For me as a person, who wants a ship for then our water when I need supply lights, when I would depend on? Now the quite picking there you put oxygen pan away they don't have hospital, we pull the oxygen and they die. We don't want that for this country. That should not be any Sierra Leonean thinking. Now I see a lot of people in social media, people in Gladi, people they say, oh, government don't fail, this don't fail. We should not let energy should not be politicized. It should not be politicized. This is something we will also embrace as a country and as a people. Moving forward, for look at solutions that are reliable, measurable, and sustainable solutions then for the energy mix in this country. And that is what exactly the energy team is doing out there.
Mike, you repeatedly they make mention say energy not for be politicized. Who that's in the politicize energy when I think where it be say if it day, if you not day, you not day.
Yeah, people politicize it. People, you go then on social media, I will see. I see the mayor in tweet where they tweet say, mega for the spend boku money for energy. The question I ask again, what have you been planning? We all know say where energy is not sustainable in this country. So why not have you the talker? So because we all know say so these are the issues in this country. We don't make sure say politics don't overtake anything, things that we're even for the discuss as a nation. Or for come together, we find solutions for. Politics don't make we all think differently. I'm not saying this just for APC. It goes both ways. You get extremists in our SLPP so too, where want the political parties fail. You get extremists in our APC where want the ruling party for fail. But what I'm telling people where they listen to me here is this: energy shouldn't be politicized. Freetown is the heartbeat of Sierra Leone. We know that. President Bio knows that. He cares about those people. He cares about this country. All waiting they happen, so there's a lot where they happen at the background. When Miss Sef our communications director of State House, we don't know about. Now after when they don't seal the confirmation or don't seal the deals, then they will come out and tell us, "We'll put this word na do." But I just want that people understand, say, Freetown will not be plunged into darkness as they want you to believe. Right? The armor is in place. All right, and we all as Sierra Leoneans, we for be curious, we for wish good, we for pray, we for listen to solutions, we for proof our solutions for a better energy sustainability in this country. Not for law see a government fail. Anybody when a forward thinking Sierra Leone, not for left sit down in government fail. It like not for government where you support, you not for left sit down a fail. Right? So again, I am telling people that we have existing structures that are working right now. This now rainy season, that's a added advantage to that. Freetown, city of Sierra Leone, will not be plunged into darkness.
All right, many thanks, Mike. We join with this morning and give Freetown people words of encouragement after we Kappa ship say on the 12th of June midnight, then go stop for electricity to Freetown. It'll be a pleasure for talk to you this morning, Mike.
It's always a pleasure, Khadija and Mabel.
All right. Well, that's Mike Berra, the Director of Communication at State House. They talk on a press release we come out from the Energy Ministry yesterday for inform Freetown residents then say on the 12th of June midnight car power ship where they provide most part of the electricity where they come now Freetown. Then say then they cut off then facility them because the government of Sierra Leone owe them money where they're not able to pay the 8, but then they give 6 megawatts to Freetown, where according to the director na State House for Communication, is say government they put now other strategy there in place for ensure say Freetown not they under total darkness. However, then go they do load shedding, where means say then go they give the lights now some area them and some area no go get. Well, we wait for see 12 midnight on Friday, waiting go happen to residents in Freetown. This is the Breakfast Show. We come to you live from Liberty Online TV. Many thanks, Sona, always join with this morning as we've been forced to talk to the U.S. Ambassador to Sierra Leone, Bryan. We make certain clarification on the category of visa them we fall under the partial ban where the United States President Donald Trump put on Sierra Leone on other country them now West Africa. And for Salone, they say the citizen them they overstay, especially when they will get the B1 and B2 visa, when a tourist visa, students visa them, we then don't go na the US and go overstay there and continue for live there illegally. But according to Bryan, it say ways then they for let the country come out of this ban if the government of Salone meet certain criteria. They will one partner for take back the citizens them where they live illegally in the United States. Well, now the Breakfast Show go left you for today. Musa Saukoma, Samuel Thomas, and Dennis Kamara. Now the technician they will give support to the production team. Mina Khadija Bangura, they say continue for watch Liberty TV throughout the day. We get interesting content so we produce for now for inform, entertain and educate now on different things that might happen all over the country. So to meet back, have a blessed day.
And continue for watch Liberty Online TV as this week again we go for unveil another new content. We'll go for the bring camp tona every Sunday. So watch out. We always they ensure say we bring you all the information where you need on a daily basis. Till we meet again, Mabel Kabade say get a good day and goodbye.
Develop city, then clean, all clean city, develop.
This is Yvonne Akisoya, Mayor of Freetown. And today, I want to talk to Freetonians about sanitation. We objective, transform Freetown, transforming lives. We not go able to achieve them if we all not join hands. Freetown City Council get role, but every Freetonian also get responsibility. Let we start first with the fact say FCC with the sweep 110 major streets every single morning from Monday to Saturday. But when we don't sweep the streets, if Freetonians then come and they continue for heap dirty in the street, in order to make the place look fine. Now make we get them litter bins them. The yellow bins we wanna go see around. So with the worker, you drink from your water bottle, your water plastic, you eat your packet something, not even a ground where you don't. Make sure say you put on one of them bins then they. That litter bin they, in order for you host dirty. You know mean say if you pack you host dirty, you can pin her next to the bins them. Not to the idea that. Not give you host dirty to the one where the Allah say clean salon. No say that dirty way they collect now you host. In order for Karango, now the one of the two official sites. In order Karango Kisi Bome, in order Karango King Tom Bome. It turns so it left on a ground. And now we council get a problem, but you self get a problem because now front somebody else in Domot, your own dirty don't end up. So wait you for do with your host dirty. We get the one then a council where we don't certify. Say then approved waste providers. Then they on tricycles, some of them they a vehicle. You will get host, you will get business, you in a hospital, institution, everybody for make sure say they waste collected by an approved FCC waste collector. We get the tricycle groups, we get the companies. So you go see them around. We engage with them on a regular basis. And wait till we go do now as we come into this new year. Now for make sure say FCC stand behind them. For you, for no side and day, and for let themselves go to you, so that we no go get that gap. When you eat dirty in a gutter, it end up na Lumley Beach, Toke Beach, all the tourism ambition where we get for the city, we lost that potential there. FCC, they spend boku money pan dirty business, the fuel, the labor, the vehicle maintenance, the spare parts, the night operations, the illegal dump site clearing wey we get for dey do every now and then. All that boku money, I no go say we no go spend anything, but we go able reduce some if Fritonians then do the right thing, because we no go get for go clear illegal dump sites. We no go get for sweep as many streets and spend as long. So if we reduce that money wey we spend now on dirty business, we go able put some on development. We all want for improving municipal schools. We want improve the markets them. We want for let we see new developments at the city. That money wey we dey use for dirty business, you and Wale, we all make up we mind. Pay.
You are watching Liberty Breakfast Show on Liberty Online TV.